Hey, beautiful people. I hope y'all are doing fantabulous. They're calling y'all for some serious snow here in North Carolina. I know everybody else is getting hit. One thing I will not do is get stuck trying to get home in no snow, in no ice situation. See what they talk about, because at a certain time, I will give myself permission to leave. Because stuck on the road, and my husband and Tootie had to come pick me up. I mean, it was the most horrific experience. But from now on, don't nobody have to tell me when to leave work. But yeah, so Tootie is coming today. Rebecca's gonna bring her to my job. And Denaya, I tell everybody, if you haven't watched my videos long, my grandmother died in 2009, and my daughter had gotten pregnant when she was in high school, like 17, and I was just really upset, and I wanted her to have an abortion because I felt like her life was just gonna, be just messed up. Her life actually has turned out very well, but I was so upset, I couldn't understand, and my grandmother told me, because I talked to her about it, I talked to my grandma about everything, so I talked to her about it, and she was like, honey, you don't never know what purpose that child is going to serve. Leave her alone, because you never know what purpose that child is going to serve. And y'all, I tell you, the God knows truth. This is the honest to God truth. If it were not for that very child, if it was not for Tootie, when my grandmother passed, I don't think I could have, I personally don't think I could have made it out like I made it out. Because I can't even. So much of she and I was the direct replica of my grandmother and I, that it brought back so many fond memories, and just it did so much to my spirit. And no, I didn't have my grandmother, but that child brought me, y'all. It would be times that we would be cooking. y'all, I got a cold. Or doing little things together, and y'all, I'm telling you, the God knows truth. In my mind would surge a memory of me and my grandmother doing the same thing, and I could see it just as plain, just as clear as day. And it would just warm my heart. Excuse me. And it would just warm my heart, and just, it would make everything so much better. Seriously. And I always remember that, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I backed up off of the abortion thing. And that taught me something. It taught me something, because you don't ever know somebody's purpose in life. And that's not to say, don't go have an abortion or whatever, but don't force or try to force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. Seriously, because you never know, that life that they're carrying may just be the life to save another's life. I know for a fact that my granddaughter saved my sanity, because my grandmother and I were so close that I couldn't imagine life without her, and I would say that to her a lot of times, and she'd be like, honey, you're talking foolish. But it was true. It was true that she made such of an impact on my life. Yeah, I'm sorry about all the coughing and stuff. I'm sorry, but but my grandmother made such of an impact on my life that I never, and to be honest, my grandmother lived to be 80 something, 82 years old. And my grandmother was never sick to the last year of her life, she got around. She was fine, you know. And I think because of that, we did not realize, and I say we, my family, none of us realized her age. We didn't even realize how old she had gotten. We didn't, because she was so full of life, and we just, the last year of her life is when we were like, I never forget, she got sick one time. My grandmother died of congestive heart failure. Her heart just simply stopped beating, and beat out. And we were the first time I took her to the hospital a whole year before. I took her to the hospital, and because I took her to her doctor's appointments, I kept up with like a lot of stuff, and I was just the one, you know, that took her and stuff like that. She was my heart, and I was the firstborn grandchild, so hey, if that says anything, you know. So you can imagine the closeness of me and my grandmother, because I was the firstborn. And my mom had me at such of an early age. So I took her to the doctor. And I never forget, I was Dr. Bird. That was her doctor. She loved Dr. Bird. Now she loved him. He came in and he was talking. So he wanted to get her weight. And by then, you know, she was in a wheelchair. She, you know, a lot of the times, her last year of life. So I looked at her, and for the first time ever, I realized her age. And something whispered to me, death. And y'all, I almost had a breakdown. I almost had a breakdown in that doctor's office that day, because I never expected my grandmother. You know, I think some people, from my experience with my grandmother, I think she lived so long, we had gotten old, and you know, she was always there. So you don't expect them to not be there. Like, I never expected her to not be there. It didn't dawn on me that one day she would not be there. It did. It really didn't, y'all. So the last year of her life, though, and y'all, let me tell you. So towards the end of the year, she was in and out of the hospital. I stayed there every night. I would take my clothes, and this was over a period, y'all, of maybe like 3 or 4 months. She was in and out of the hospital a lot. Every time my grandma went to the hospital, I spent the night there. And a lot of it was because she did not like to stay alone at the hospital. She hated staying alone. So, you know what? Boom, bam, no problem. I got you. Because I love her just that much. I stayed there every night. I would take my clothes, child, with me, get up, take a shower, go to work, get off, come back home. It was like I had a week's worth of clothes in that suitcase. And that was my routine. And she would be like, why don't you go home and, you know, get your little rest? I'm like, but I knew she needed me. Sometimes you gotta suck it up, because sometimes somebody needs you. Suck it up. You know, and I did just that. I sucked it up, put on my big girl panties, and hey, grandma need me, because you know what? And I never forget, one day I had taken her to the doctor. We had come back, and she called me. She said, come here for a minute. And y'all, my grandmother was a big lady, and we didn't have a ramp. I'm gonna tell y'all this: God would give you strength when you need it. When you think that you can't do something, God will give you strength, and you won't know how you were able to do what you did, because my grandmother was a big woman, y'all. And let me tell you something, and I was smaller then than I am now. That might be why I was so small, because I had to maneuver her around. So we didn't have a ramp at the house. It was no handicap ramp. And you know, the last year she couldn't get around and stuff, so walk very long distances. She could only, you know, do a little bit. I would have to put her in that wheelchair. I don't know how I did. Y'all, by the street. Because you know what I did? When I realized the condition of her, I prayed and said, God, give me the ability to do what I need to do for her. And y'all know what he did? Just that. God gave me the ability and made me strong enough to handle what I needed to handle for her. Because I never bathed anybody. My mom and sister, you know, they do, that's what they do. You know, they worked at mental hospitals, you know, and stuff like that. So I never bathed anybody or nothing like that. I never liked it. But you know what? I said, God, give me the strength to do whatever she needs for me to do. And for me, that one was a big one. Because the white somebody's bottom, that was not your girl, okay? But I did everything she needed me to do, and I did not complain, not one bit. You know what? Because she had done so much for me and she had given me so much, y'all. It was so important to me that I do all I could to give back. So she called me over one day. We had come back from the doctor, and y'all, it was about 100 degrees outside. I had got her back in the house, and I was so tired, and I was so hot. She said, come here for a minute. I went over there. She grabbed my hand, y'all, and she squeezed my hand real tight. And she looked at me. She said, honey, let me tell you something. I want to thank you for everything that you've done for me. And y'all, as some tears start rolling down her face, and mine too. And I said, Grandma, you know what? I can never, ever repay you. Then I'm getting choked up. I said, I could never, ever repay you for what you've done for me. But I want to do everything I can and in my power to make sure that I do what I can. But I appreciate you so much. I can never repay you, ever. And we both cried. And because y'all, I loved that woman to death. Do you hear me? And on her dying bed, out of everybody in that room, Grandma looked at me and told me she would always be my angel. And you know what? That gave me consolation. So when my grandmother passed, y'all, you know what? The day she passed, I cried. Yes, I did, in that hospital room. But do you know I wiped them tears? And honey, I drove myself home. I don't even know. Because I praised God. And instead of crying because she left, I cried and I praised God because she was my grandmother. I praised God for giving her to me. I praised him in that room right then and there. Because I was so grateful that he gave me her. And y'all, I spent like so much of my life, I did, just making sure she knew how much I loved her. And she did. She did. She knew. I did anything. When I say anything, whoo, child. But I don't know. I did anything for her because she did anything for me. You know, and that's my message, is that because you don't ever know what you might have to do for somebody, what condition somebody might get in that they need you. Pray and ask God to give you the strength to get through it. And trust me, you will gain strength that you didn't even know you had, that you didn't even know was possible. For real, for real. Because when I looked back, when my grandma, after the death and everything, you know, time passed and I looked back, I was like, you know what? I don't even know how I got through what I got through. But I thank God that he brought me through with flying colors. Because I don't know how I got through. Y'all don't know how. Well, I'm saying God brought me through. And he did everything I asked him to do, was just give me strength. And he did just that. And he'll do the same thing for you. Ask him for strength. And watch him give you the strength that you need to get through. And I'm about to go into this JOB, and I will holler at y'all in the next video. Deuces.